Hello! Telefragged is a map by iJed, or EJed, not sure how to say their name, Lewis Manning. It's a sprawling tech base with a grimy industrial aesthetic using Rubicon textures. The crown jewel of the Rubicon Rumble Pack. Released in 2014, still one of the absolute best sets of levels ever produced for Quake. For my money, probably the best. You might recognise the author as the creator of the hostile and beautiful Warp Spasm, which is one of my favourite map sets of all time. I've also made a bunch of videos on that if you're interested. Map's very much in the same sort of vein. It's a sprawling adventure, very beefy monster count, well over 900, 32 secrets. Reminiscent of Warp Spasm's Bile Plant, there's a sense of progression in it as well, like you start off crippled and powerless, and eventually you end up bringing the whole base down around you in ruins, quite literally. The escape sequence after the core meltdown is one of the most memorable things that I can think of in Quake, and its influence can be seen in like loads of other maps as well, like the equally wonderful Breakdown by BMFBR in Alkaline, for example. I'm playing on Nightmare difficulty, but a quick note here, it's only 100% secrets because it was almost impossible to get 100% kills, I just couldn't figure it out. The monster count is dynamic, so it's hard to know what the correct number is. I couldn't do my usual thing I do with videos like this where I'll have mental checkpoints of, oh, I need to have 300 monsters at this doorway. And also, I think 16 is what I figured out. Monsters just never spawn in. I can achieve that, but it requires a good 5 odd minutes of backtracking and poking about waiting for triggers to kick off. So I thought that's a bit tedious to watch, I won't bother. The route I've actually decided to compromise on always left me with 27 monsters left alive, which is, it's good enough really. It's not good enough for a pure 100% demo, but I think it gets the point across, makes it entertaining to watch too. Anyway, please enjoy Telefragged. So, here we are, you've been Telefragged, the start of the level. Pretty cool introduction here. You're in the Telefragged state, which means 10 HP, lower view angle, can't pick any weapons up. The shotgun's quite nice at the start there to let you know you can't have it. So you're completely helpless. And it's kind of like a puzzle here. I go through this very quickly, but it's just a matter of figuring out the route to take. There's only one, because you'll be blocked up by environmental hazards or enemies, which works quite well. First objective there is to get the keycard for the causeway. You can't miss the objective marker for that, because it tells you as you walk in, you know, this needs a keycard. And you find yourself walking through the complex here. And I don't look around very much, but you can see quite a few things. There's an inside there, there's like a little reactor pylon. Outside you can see a radio tower and a train yard. And this is the first major objective here. So this is a hunter test. Inside that box, which I'm just ignoring there, is a hunter robot, which is like the, I guess you would say it's like the Shambler for the Rubicon Rumble Pack here. They shoot a volley of explosive shots, kind of a bit of splash on them, not very much. And you can see here though that their shots are able to destroy parts of these pillars. There's destructible cladding on all of them, which is very nice. But it's very dangerous here, single tag and you're dead. On the lower difficulties there are more barriers which stop you from taking damage when you're pressing the buttons and putting the keycard in. There's more cover basically. So there you go, that's the first hunter test there. And the only way to go now is to go back, there's nothing else to do here. That gave a very cryptic message there, didn't it, about a reactor core needing to blow up. You'll notice as well there's some log files, and the log files are really good because they communicate the story as to what's going on, and give you a few gameplay related hints as well, if you want to see them. If you just want to play like a normal Quake level, that's fine. It's a very hands-off storytelling approach, but it works well. That is a very odd bit there with the reactor blowing up, because there's no indication anything's going to happen. So if you do head back that way, there's that thought of what am I supposed to do now, what's going on? You can actually do what I did, where you just like walk down and think, can I get behind this this grunt, and I get instantly killed by it. It'd be nice if there was like a siren or a noise, or like flashing lights before it blows up. But, you know, it's not too bad. It's very early on. So, you do all that, eventually you end up in the med lab. Get an axe to start with, and that was 860 monsters to begin with before they start spawning in to kill. So we're back in this ruined reactor room now. You can see where the pylon's blown up. Inside those crates with the blue symbols on, they have shoggoths in them. They're not spawns, they're shoggoths, which are kind of like a weaker version of the spawn. It's a spawn that has less health, and they like stop every few jumps and then kind of think about what to do. So they're not quite as panic-inducing, which is a bit of a shame, but there is a twist to them which I'll explain later. So what I'm doing now is I'm doing a bit of secret hunting at the start. You can go back into the room with the hunter droid. You can see how it was gated off here, so there was no escape before. Killing the Floyd that's over there. Having a good time. So we're heading back now. Up this staircase, pick up the armour, Memorion Secret, done. I could have done this much later on. You can see there's a door up there which is closed. When that opens up, that's another time you can do this, but it wasn't worth it. There's a vent as well you can shoot out in there, which leads you to the LG, which is pretty overpowered for early on. And you can see there that the hunter droids there, they were going to equip it to it. There's a little story reason for it existing, but they can't do so. So, we've come out the Telefrag trap, we have our health back. Now we're going to our primary objective, and I'm not really sure. I think the primary objective is supposed to be shutting down Shoggoth production labs, or something like that. I can't remember where I read that or saw it, maybe we were on a computer screen, but that's what we're doing. Secret there, long drop, kind of a weird one. It's always risky in Quake when you have to drop down onto something which is very far away, like, and there's no obvious way back. Because there's the risk of, well, what happens? Because if you fall in that void, you die. But there's always the risk of, well, is it a switch you have to shoot instead, which brings it back up to me. But early on, it's worth the risk. Later on, it wouldn't be, really. So, there's two ways to progress here. You don't have to take this path to this complex room here. You can go straight down that pipe from the very beginning with the water in it. That's another route you can take to the map. But this one seems like the best to me. So there's a nice quad run to start off with. We found the quad. Just pressing the buttons for the steam vents and pressing the door buttons as well, just to unlock a path up through here. And then there's an obvious way which isn't bad, which you can take as well. Don't know what I'm thinking about here, really. Trying to get that explosive barrel to kill those guys at the fire and failing, and getting set on fire by the what they call pyromaniacs. I'm not really sure. But the fire effect lasts an annoyingly long time in Rubicon, an annoyingly long time. So I'm going to be on fire now until I put myself in the water. Doesn't do much damage, but it's enough to probably make the encoding process look a bit funny. So we're going into the water here to pick up a secret. Rockfish have been changed as well in this. They are smaller and faster now. Does it make a difference? Not in the slightest. But they do tend to phase out of existence. I had a lot of trouble. Sometimes I'll go in that pool and I only see 2 or 3 of them, and I have no idea where they've gone. Whether they've gone through a wall or whatever else. But they would eventually appear again, so who knows, really. Those jumping guys there, they're called berserkers. They basically just lunge at you with the chainsaws so they can push you back, and also you can get kind of clipped onto them. They kind of suck you in a really bizarre way. Harmless though, health-wise, not really a big deal. So what happened there is the staircase behind me collapsed, and if you look down that hole, there's a grinder, which is an insta-kill. And if you look up, there's the water pipe from when I was initially telefragged in the weakened state. So there's like a sense of geometry in this map where rooms have purposes, and the base itself seems to have a clear function. And you can pick that up if you read some of the terminal messages on the message terminals. Just have a look around and kind of like think. The environments are pretty abstract, but there's still a logic to a lot of them. So this is kind of a basement sub-storage section, it would seem, you know? Yeah, there's a cargo lift, for example, so things come in from the base proper and come down here. It's a relatively straightforward room. Not really too much going on here. I would say it acts as an introduction to Shoggoth traits, but you have one of those right at the very beginning in the first room, so maybe it doesn't. You know, there is this section here which is lots of dogs. Lots and lots of dogs dropping down on you. I think this is directly underneath one of the starting areas where we raised the catwalk. We were stealthing around earlier, so reconfiguration, different place. Get some more weapons as well. Getting really fully loaded up now. And I believe there's the reason I'm jumping around here is because those berserkers drop down. Only 2 drop down instead of 3. They usually drop down, so I was kind of thinking, you know, where are they? What's going on? Wasting a bit of time, but, you know, still keeping a healthy pace. So, slime production. This is, I think, the primary objective. What we're supposed to be doing lore-wise while we're here. This section's pretty interesting. There's 4 wings, you need to do all of them, and there's this central area here. There are these Floyds, which are dormant in the corners. I don't know when they wake up, because I've always just killed them immediately. But I think that they wake up if they get clipped by any sort of crossfire, and I think there's some point where they're scripted just to wake up anyway, and kind of get in the way. But early on here, it's just a bunch of mooks, very low level ones, just to kill. Nice aggressive sort of fight to start with. Now we're going to sequentially go 1 through 4 with the slime production things to shut down parts of the machine and eventually get the key. So there's a secret down here. There's only one of these. Leads into the basement of section 1. And it's a pretty massive item find, you know. Secrets in this tend to be relatively tricky to find in places, but it's like warp spasm basically. You can see here, stuff spawns back in, and you know, the room repopulates, and spawns come down, or shoggoths come down, I should say, every time. So, as we do more and more, the shoggoths get slightly more fucked up, so to speak, as we're destroying the production facility. So, you can see the messages, that's kind of a nice little touch there. They become less refined and they become more monstrous and dangerous. Probably harder to manage as a biological weapon or whatever they're supposed to be. So yeah, see, biomatter purification is disabled, so now you're going to see some changes to the next set that come down. So, Shoggoth mechanic here I'm going to mention, now it's actually relevant. They get larger. When they get larger, they split off into, they have more health, and then they split off into pairs when you kill them. So, watch out for that. They can still charge you in those states, like a spawn would, which is not pleasant, but they also have a ranged attack as well, so it's best just to keep your distance and spam them down. This room here, you can get locked out of a secret permanently or without taking a damaging rocket jump. These pillars stop when you turn off the infusion machine, because I like pistons. Watch out for that. You can see now the shoggoths are getting even larger. Now, one of the reasons the monster count's so variable, which I touch on in the introduction here, is because I think that when they split in 2, it like spawns another monster, so it adds to the monster count. But sometimes when you kill them, if they explode because you made their friends explode, they just kind of like despawn instantly, so the number doesn't go up consistently every time. Sometimes as well, they get stuck under floors. They will like, if they're on like they're a room over a room, they will go to the lower level and they can go into the abyss, and that's not a good thing. Secret there is you shoot through the window, there's a little switch underneath the crate there. Get another quad. And as you can see, look how many times these things are splitting. I think as well, if they fall into the slime down there, they die. There's some sort of push that kills them down there. Because otherwise they would get stuck forever, make an awful noise. So that's it, that's the production of slime ruined there. If you manage your quad well, you can keep going to the point where this hunter bursts out of a wall and kill it easily. Nothing to go with up there, there's no reason to go up there. The ladder leads to a door which is locked, so that's just there for later purposes. I'm not really sure of the wisdom of having that ambush like set up the way it is, but that's what it is. No real biggie. Hunters as well, it's worth mentioning, they get weakened if you use explosives or LG. You can blow their arms off, and when you blow their arms off they do a lot less sort of damage, because obviously they can't spam quite as hard, which is pretty useful actually, because it means you can get right up in their face if they've only got one arm, and you can strafe away from their dominant arm in like the opposite direction, and they can't track you, which is really nice. These Centurions here, you probably recognise them from AD and a bunch of other things as well, are a pain in the ass. An absolute pain in the ass. They can get stuck up there. Very dangerous on a linear plane. If they're on the same like vertical level as you, they can seriously maim you if they shoot you in the back and you're not paying attention and not strafing. Some pretty good examples of the usage there in this. The combat in general in Telefragged is really well set up. It's quite involved. Just not just by density of monsters, but by the actual setups as well. So this here changes the blue lasers over. Don't switch them off in this, you just switch them. And you can see there's a back spawn and shot off here. This one is a massive pain. You can see how it's charging me down there, which is kind of terrifying. They're a massive pain, those, because that one can easily get stuck down on the lower catwalk, and I'm just going to go check in a second, I think, just to have a look and see. Did that one drop down? It did. And unfortunately, these ones didn't die very easily. They split up a little bit too much. So the blue lasers are toggled here. Yep, checking down there, make sure nothing's idle down there so I miss them in the monster count. Another secret, that's an incredibly awkward one to find. And look at the floor marking there with the hazard tape kind of tracks. That usually indicates there's a trap, and the traps are usually deactivated with a button. So the blaster trap there, for example, pretty good. Using the rest of this quad best I can. Everything has to go. You can really go nuts with explosives in this map. Ammo can be pretty tight if you aren't sensible, but if you have a good route like this, you can just sort of go absolutely fucking mental. And those spawns those Shoggoths, back spawned when we were down in the cargo room before. You could hear them wake up, but I didn't do anything with them because they were behind the door. So, relatively straightforward so far. We're pushing further deeper into the complex. There's the grinder underneath the cargo room. And the keycard that we need to activate the lift upstairs. And that's just a demonstration there to show what that thing can do, which I think is cute. It's a bit of comic relief, really, it feels like. There's no other way out of this area, though. It makes you go back to where you came from, but it subtly sort of reconfigures itself, so you have this... the staircase is blocking now, and you have to go back up here. So you've got a new loop to do, which is really cute. I really like that. This map is very similar to Warp Spasm's Bile Plant. Very, very similar. It uses the same texture sets. It's got a similar sort of oppressive vibe. It's not quite as hard, you don't have those growth monsters, which are a bloody nightmare. But it's definitely a very hostile facility for sure. That vent blows open. And I suck at jumping, so... Secret in there though, another armour. Find the secrets in this map, you will be well catered for in terms of survivability. Like armours for days and days and days. But now we can leave. That button only exists to lower the staircase for that sort of E1M6 style secret weapon. Secret armour, mega health, sorry. And there's this here. This secret is behind a completely non-solid but strange wall, fake wall. I don't know. But the running tree here is this is like the most bile plant of all the sections. This feels like finding the rune chamber or something. You've got the altar they're all worshipping at with the rocket launcher. You've got Ranger and the computer monitors with the subtle Christian iconography, very Neon Genesis Evangelion or something like that. And it's great here as well, you can see from the floor, you're above like a massive abyss as well, like inside a cave structure. It's really pretty with the light shafts coming down. It's really effective. The lighting in this level is beautiful. The use of fog as well. It's at the pace I'm playing, it's hard to point these things out, but there's a lot of really beautiful work in there. And speaking of, you can see there's the posters on the wall there, just to the left. Some of them have little Easter eggs in and references, and they're just nice to look at. Adds a little bit of personality to the areas. So we're still being pushed forward here. This outside area I'm heading to, you can get to this the opposite way. There's another doorway into it, which leads if you take the water pipe early on. And that can affect which monsters spawn out here, I'm pretty sure. So it's why I end up backtracking to re-enter the area through the opposite doorway, because it spawns more stuff in. This map is a pain in the ass to try and get maximum kills on, that's why I gave up. But that's not really the point, I mean, the exploration of the journey, that's what it's all about. Kind of cool this area here as well, there's a huge amount of verticality. And, you know, you've got guys like that little enforcer up there who makes you look up and makes you think, oh, how do I get up there? And you can see a ladder on the wall, which is just out of reach. And then, for me, one of the joys of this game is the movement engine. It makes me think, okay, well, how can I get up there? What do I do? And you can see there's a series of jumps that you can make, which increase in difficulty. and you get 3 secrets for your trouble, which is great. But right now I'm just going to clear out the fish from these ponds. There's 3 on each side. Sometimes it seems like there's less, but who knows why that could be. Then up these ladders here. And the first kind of obvious jump here, the first secret. The obvious one here. You don't have to circle jump, everything can be done with a straight jump in this. There's nothing like warp spasmy where you're being forced to, like, you know, do little jumps up with the rocket launcher or the plasma gun. Whatever it's called, the blaster. I don't know what it's called, I can't remember. With this, you can just press forward for all the jumps. And if you jump onto this rooftop, you get a ward. That's called a ward of, I think it's called the Ward of Rebirth, but the game calls it, I think, a regeneration. But the main idea of that is that if you use it, I think when you drop to 25 health or lower, it automatically activates like an automatic medkit and brings you back up to 100. Final secret here. It's worth noting all these crates that you see around the map, the big crates, they all contain hunter robots, all of them. Which is nice because you can imagine that they're setting up in this base for an invasion of Earth, I think is the law. So you can imagine they've built all these hunter droids and they're getting them ready. Shipping them out to various strongholds. What you saw there, I'm backtracking quickly as you can see here to get these final enemies that spawn in. What happened, which is unusual, is the destroyer the berserker side actually knocked me down off the platform with a chainsaw attack, and that could have easily knocked me into the abyss and insta-killed me. Really something to look out for. It's a good idea, it's a good example of an ambush there. But that's their main use. They're used quite effectively to push you about, or to have the threat of pushing you about. Even if they rarely actually do, they mainly just tend to suck them toward you. This little outside train yard here is cute, because it's like, it's obviously not the goods entrance. This feels like kind of like, maybe where the ogres come from when they're flown in. Train coming in from wherever they've signed up and enlisted to fight in the whatever, I don't know what kind of war they're engaged in. It's cute though. And then you enter this other pump room under here. Another really cool thing, subtle thing, is that a lot of these machines that you see, they have ambient noises attached to them, which trigger, so the computers have like whirring and typing noises, and the big turbines have, you know, turbine whirs. Just helps build up that ambient atmosphere. Sort of thing that was used a little bit in Warp Spasm, but to a much greater effect here. There's like a real sense of iterated on their design ideas. There, a reanimator secret it's called down here. But it's a Ward of Rebirth. Hopping over a little hole there, you don't want to fall down that because that leads back to the place where the med center was. And to get back up here is a real trek because I haven't unlocked the doors and the shortcuts to get back up here. So you don't want to fall down, basically. A little hop stops you from doing that. And I'm just going down here back into this sewer section because there was that single dangerous rockfish that was threatening me as I was doing this section here with their 3 damage bites. Just getting my revenge. So, up here we're doing the last little bit of interesting cleanup. This takes you back to the initial starting area room, the starting sort of room with the reactor when you're fully healed. And here's the interesting secret. When I first played this, I didn't know you had to touch that pillar to start a fight. Instead I would just go, oh, there's an LG, oh, this room's kind of dark, I'm leaving now. But no, that pillar, it starts this kind of big combat set piece. Which, with the quad and the ring, obviously, is it's kind of a joke. You just kill everything before they even wake up. Or fail to, as I did there, almost. But that gives you yet another Ward of Rebirth and a health. I don't think I end up using any of them in this particular run, and I don't know if they stack, but I have in the past taken a lot of damage and seen the ward activate. It's so subtle when it does, though, you'll never know that it saved your life until it does, really. And this opens up this next part of the path here. Well, this part was opened up going to the train car area. I just wanted to back off first. This is kind of a confusing part of the map. It's not clear where you're supposed to go. You can't cross the water, there's no obvious path, and this is a dead end. though it does introduce you to, again, yet another hunter inside a crate. But pressing that button doesn't do anything. You've still got this impassable water. But if you go into the water, instead of backtracking and going elsewhere, which is what most people probably would do in that situation, you can see there's a very Half-Life 2, it feels very Half-Life 2, where shoot the button to make the crate bob up, which is cute. And then you can progress. Kind of an interesting choice, that. I think this came out, what, 2014? So still got some nice tricks. Just a nice bit of spam as well along here. There's a lot of very frontal combat, you know, the incidental combat, but still fun, still a good time, even if it's not the most challenging thing in the world or engaging. There's enough variety in the set pieces and the monster placement, though, with the areas with height variety and stuff to make it a good time. Don't want to sound like I'm nitpicking. There's nice touches there, like you can see the water dripping from the ceiling. It's just really nicely constructed, the details. So here you can see we're back above the hunter test area, and there's like a Shoggoth in a tube, like a test subject. Is this some sort of laboratory setting? Potentially, potentially not. I'm not going to let the Shoggoth out yet, though. I'm wandering about. I've now lowered the shortcut lift so I can get back up here from the starting area where I blew the reactor. Yet another secret, and there's the progression path over there. So I choose to do the only bit of cleanup I choose to do here, I could do a bit more and kill another 11 monsters for the final count, is here. And it's because for some reason stuff does spawn down here when I can remember where, and I'm not sure what triggers them, to be honest with you. But you end up with this cheeky chappy berserker. And down here, weirdly, you've got just this one guy with the grenade launcher, one ogre, and you have one flame guy at the bottom. And I have no idea what they're doing here. But I've decided to clear them up just because I can, really. That's the only reason. I used to do it much later on, but the cleanup section of the map then took a good, like, 2 or 3 minutes, and it's just not fun to watch, and it's still didn't get any maximum kills, which is why I ended up with this funny compromise situation. But that's it, that's the only off-the-beaten-path cleanup I'm going to do. It's just all straightforward, all linear from here on out. That quad raises for some reason with the glass, but it doesn't seem to, because the bounding box for it seems to stay where it was. And this trap here is a classic Rubicon 2 style trap. Doesn't actually do any damage, but it's, you know, it's there. Looks nice. And now we're in the outside train area. We walked along an elevated platform at the start instead of fighting this. But this is a really good example of an arena with some interesting combat set pieces here. Because, like, here's an example. You have these Centurions down the far end of the train car there, which makes you want to run toward them and kill them. But then the hunter comes from behind, who's a higher priority threat. But if you turn your back on them, because they're shooting in a straight line down a corridor, they can do a lot of damage to you very quickly, because you'll get hit by 6 or 7 nails. And if you ignore the hunter can spam you down as well, so it's an awkward situation to be in, because you're kind of committed to going one way or the other in this corridor. It's a nice pin situation. But you can use the quad there and just blast through it and use pretty much all of it to kill everything, which feels damn good. I miss a few terminals here, I apologise. I tried to do my best to actually look at them all so you could see the story in very fleeting detail, but can't be helped really sometimes. Now we're back down here, so this is where that shortcut that opened up comes into play with the hunter ambush, because it spawns some helpful Shoggoths to try and draw the eye and lure you in that direction. To pretty limited effect, to be honest with you, because the door's locked, so I didn't think to come up here again. I thought, well, the door's still going to be locked. I didn't make the connection, because I didn't, go around that corner and see, oh, this leads back. It's opened up. I think it would be more effective if the shortcut didn't blow open until the second drop down. It'll make it much clearer that is the intended progression routes. But then you would lose out on that funny hunter thing. So what can you do, eh? Ironclad secret, that's a funny secret, because you can permanently lock yourself out of that one if you don't shoot the switch. If you don't shoot the switch, it closes up on you as you run toward it down the corridor, which is very cruel but funny. There's a couple of secrets in this which you can get locked out of forever, so, you know, use your brain. Don't be too dejected when it goes wrong. You can always load one of the many autosaves this map makes. You might see a few of those. It'll say something like local demo is playing in the corner. That's one of the bushes that you pass over. It creates a save game like in the quick save slot. And then you can just go back to it. It's extremely liberal with the use of those, like really liberal. And maybe it needs to be given the way that the map configuration is, but I didn't really need it with all the ward and so on. So there's a lot of lasers over there, blocking for where we need to go. We'll get there in the end. I was really taken aback here, because usually that guy ambushes you while you're still in that little side cubby with the Enforcer, but because I didn't kill the Enforcer through poor planning, didn't really work. And if you look here carefully here, moment of realisation, we're back at the initial slip gate. We've basically traversed the area where we were before, except for going in the opposite direction now. So we've been here before. That's such a cool feeling, the idea that the map's being reused in a way where it's not at all actually obvious until you've done it. And this map is beautiful for that in terms of recontextualising areas and giving you a real sense of journey. Though it does feel a bit maze-like. There's a really clear logic to the layout and everything that after a few playthroughs I really started to be doing this over and over again. I really got a feel for it and came to appreciate it a great deal. Not powerless anymore though, that's for sure. No one's going to get to me anymore. So now we can go back up to where we were. This area here really reminds me of Bile Plant again. Something about the grid, except for there's no, I think, pits with instant spikes in it, I suppose. A bit more friendly. Though there is a shoot switch for the LG if you don't have it. I mean, LG is quite late in the game, as you can see here. We're, what, 30 minutes in? This is pretty deep into the progression as well. If you don't find that one right at the start of the map, it has interesting ramifications on the balance. This area here is kind of cool, this fight. So this is the red laser toggle area. You have the switch there in the pentagram. Now without the secret, the idea here is that you're flooded by these doorways here. This is a crossfire that on Nightmare especially, it's very hard to avoid getting hit by the grenades. So the pent exists purely to sort of, as a timer, you know, kill as much as you can before it runs out. And then you've got the hunters who push into you as well, so it's all about killing stuff, killing a hunter or two, then going to a cubbyhole. If you find the secret though, you've got quad, and it becomes trivial, and you can just do what I did there, which is just face roll everything, because, you know, you've got quad. It's a real shame. It's one of the weaknesses, I think, of the quad power. As fun as it is to use, it fundamentally alters the balance of the game and shifts things in the player's favour so strongly that it's hard to design a set-piece encounter to go with it. Now, the way to mitigate this, of course, would be to have some sort of cost associated with the quad. The quad spawns more monsters into that fight, or there's something that goes on down in the quad area where you have to fight some more things, maybe like a hunter at point blank or something that wastes some of your time. But you can see how it works. It's like having a BFG in Doom is the analogy I always bring up tediously time and time again. So, moving on here. Those lasers are off. We can now get our beautiful super nail gun. The use of lasers toggling is cool because it does sort of gate the map. It like leads you in one direction then another, always keeping you on rails. It makes it very hard to backtrack in the wrong direction and get horribly lost unless you really go off the beaten path. But it does make it harder to backtrack when it comes to, like, you know, have I missed a monster? I want to go have a look. Because suddenly, you know, well, how did I get to that place? Oh, I went this way. No, you can't really, because it's blocked off. You've got to find another route. It can get very confusing very quickly. The stairs here, they're controlled by some Centurions who rise out of the abyss where the stairs were, or they're supposed to, but they're very, very slow. Only one made it. They tend to get stuck underneath as well. Sometimes they get stuck in where there's a lift shaft in the centre. They get stuck in there. And if that happens, it bugged out for me once. I had to actually rocket jump through and over the gap. So it can be a bit tricky. The progression in general in this area is a little bit less clear again. So we've got lift access here, which has been granted. To get out of here, you need to jump out from the sides. But with the fog and everything, it's really hard to tell that, you know, there's windows in the ground level. There's no barriers up here. Which is kind of strange, but it works. So there's everything dead here, just... I'm playing this too quick. When I make videos when I need to play slowly, not just be powering through at 100 miles an hour. That lift there as well, it's quite easy to miss. You can like run off in the opposite direction really fast like an idiot and then go, wait, where am I going? What's happening? Final few secrets here. We're now back at that opening area where we had to, you know, go through the vent to get past the steam jet. There's the exit gate that you can see guarded by gold lasers. That needs to be disabled. And this is a pretty decent ambush here with the hunter droids. Very, very limited as where I can move and what I can do without wanting to fall down. And if you push too far when fighting this guy into your area, there's a really nice Shoggoth sitting on top of a crate just waiting to jump on you. So makes things a bit more complicated there because he's dead now. See here, this is a shortcut that leads back up to the train yard. Great news. Computers here, Earth invasion scheduled. So there's method to the madness here of what I'm doing. These guys are bastards and they are after us. So it is self-defense, strictly speaking. No violation of Geneva Convention either. This is a legitimate military designated compound. Invaluable to the Nyarlathot's followers, I think. I'm not sure who they are in this, who the baddies are. Military plans. Little secret there that teleports you back up. That was directly over the slime production rooms. And now we finally have access to the yellow laser control area, which was blocked off before. There's an ambush if you pick up the rocket launcher, it spawns some dogs in, which is kind of cool because the incentive is to spam explosives at the what are they called? The Floyds. But then you get shot in the back. Like I got shot in the back by that blaster trap by being too fast for the deactivation. Stuff like that, it's dogs and stuff like that work really well to frustrate what you want to do with the explosive weapons. They're used to great effect. And this opens up this ventilation shaft down here, this like big shaft here, which actually smashes some glass, which leads to another secret. But I forgot about the hunter, embarrassingly, so I had to deal with that. So yeah, that area there has a glass floor. This is, I think, chamber 2 of the slime production area. But if you have a good memory and you look down there earlier, you would have gone, how the heck do I get to that secret? Well, there's the payoff. Leads to a locked door there with a companion cube in. Portal references were dated in 2014, right? They felt dated in 2007 or whatever Portal came out. But hey, there you go. And now the final quad run around here. You can see here it's blocked off one path, only one logical way to go unless you take the ladder upstairs and go through the train yard again, which you can do. And you've got this ambush here, which is actually this is a dangerous ambush. I died here once. Well, I didn't die, I procced my rebirth ward here. Because it's just so chaotic. You have the Centurions coming from the top, the dogs dropping down on you, it's a nice multi-layered fight. So, what you can do here is you can do some cleanup. This is why I used to do the cleanup, and it'll kill all but 16 monsters, which I believe are the ones which are bugged, which can't come out because the triggers are broken. That's my logic anyway from my extensive, tedious testing. But I decided not to do that because I just don't want to spend an extra 5 minutes kind of backtracking through the map in areas you've seen, going, oh, how do I get past the lasers here? But you can go straight to the exit. You don't have to do this next leg of the map, and some people haven't. I've seen people on stream not do this bit, and it makes my heart break. It's by far the coolest part of the map. But you can just, go through the train car doorways up there, head toward the exit, which you saw at the very top level, and then the map ends. But this is the reactor core, which we're going to blow up down here in the cave. It's pretty darn nice, mind saying, so it's very nice actually. This is the core meltdown sequence in the escape, which are nice bookends. They had me running scared, now I'm having them running scared, it's a progression, it's storytelling, it's lovely. But this has profound repercussions on the rest of the map, like really profound repercussions on the rest of the map. Everything starts collapsing. I have no idea how they did this. Like, this is so impressive to me. I don't even show you the full extent of it as well. If you go outside to the train car section, the big radio tower is collapsed and it's on its side and everything like that. Everything's malfunctioning. But you got 4 minutes to escape, plenty of time, and the path is really obvious. You just gotta be careful of the earthquake effects, it will knock you into the pits if you're not careful. And just keep going. Irritatingly, this seems to cause a bunch of monsters that have spawned in that are inactive, like there's supposed to be a Floyd just up there. And a bunch of grunts and stuff, that's where the remaining monsters who I've missed are. It tends to make them vanish, and I don't know why, to be honest with you. But you're well stocked here, you've got like a constant quad, you've got that really funny dog who commits suicide. Like a nice little set piece there, just like the poor Enforcer grunt who was stuck behind the laser array trying to get out. And heading toward the exit now. So it's really nice though. I don't really do it justice. It's something you should really play yourself to really get a good feel for this. Like, if you play this map normally, it's a good 80 minutes probably of your time. I mean, when I first started routing this, trying to figure it out, I think my first attempt was 67 minutes, something like that. Just, you know, running about, trying to figure it all out, and I pushed the time down further and further and further as I got more disgruntled with trying to, you know, killing all the monsters and failing. But, you know, here you go. So here's the final escape section here. You jump through the portal. That's it. It's Telefragged. It's a brilliant map. It's a logical extension of a lot of what iJed or IJed or Louis Manning, the creator, was going for with Warp Spasm. Feels like a logical extension of what a lot of what Bioplant does as well, taking off a lot of the really harsh edges and making it a more general experience anybody can enjoy. I love the sense of power progression as well. Like, you start off just running scared, weak, that kind of pseudo-stealth section, and you just build up and build up and build up. It's a masterpiece, really. It's a masterclass in Quake design. The other maps in the set as well are really, really good. There's a couple others. Really, Rubicon Rumble Pack, don't sleep on it. Please go out there and play it. It's on Quadicted. Make sure you grab the 1.3 patch, because version up for downloaded on Quadicted is the 1.0. And they've hidden the 1.3 patch in the additional lint section. There is like a major map malfunction there. You don't want to see that. So have a good time. Play this. It's amazing. See you later.